Good afternoon, everyone. I am Chandran Saraswat. I am your speaker for the today, and the topic of our webinar is integration of DB2 and RAD, the front end and the back end connectivity. So now we're going to start with the slideshow. Now, the agenda of this particular webinar is, first of all, we'll cover up DB2 installation on Windows, that is DB2 9.7 on Windows. Second one is RAD installation on Windows, that is RAD 7.5 on Windows. And finally, the third thing, RAD and DB2 connectivity, the front end and the back end part. So now we will start with the first one, DB2 installation. Now, DB2 9.7, we have, suppose like we have in the Windows, we have two executable files available. That is one for the 32-bit Windows, one for the 64-bit Windows. It is according to your system specification, you can use any of these. But this particular slideshow I am going to show by using Windows DB2 32-bit. So now just next, click on the executable file, whatever your systems support, it's 64 or 32, double click. Now, a prompt box appears. It will ask that you are going to install an uncompressed 32-bit version of DB2. So now I select OK because I am going to perform the things with 32-bit option. Now, wait for some time until the file is extracted. It will take approximately 1 or 2 minutes to complete the extraction of the executable files. Now, once all the files are executed, we have this window available, DB2 Setup Launchpad. Welcome to DB2 version 9.7. Now, there are few options available. We need to select here, install a product. Don't bother about the remaining one, directly select install a product to install the DB2 on Windows. Now, then the next thing, once you select next, the next available is install new. Now this install new is there to install the setup. So just we need to click on this option, install new. Now we need to wait for approximately 2 minutes until the next button is visible or enabled. So after this, the next one is okay. Now within 2 minutes the next button is enabled. So what to do? Just click on next. Okay, the next page, the next window is the terms and condition page, the license page. So we have to select here, I accept the terms in the license agreement, then next. Okay, now there are three options to install DB2, typical, compact and custom. Now, if you want to perform the things with the typical, you have to create a new user ID for the DB2. Just like you already have one, through that you can log into your system. You have to create a new one. By default, it's like DB2 instance. And some basic functionalities are available to you with the typical. Second one is compact. Compact is like the most basic one. You want some functionality to cover up, so you can use compact. And third one is custom. Now custom gives us the choice that we want to create a new user for the DB2, or we can go with the by default that we have available in our system. So we can perform the things. Currently we are going to perform the things with the custom. And with the custom we have all the things available with the typical, and also we can manage or customize some important things. So we can proceed with the custom now, because currently I don't want to create a new user ID for the DB2. So just select next. Now after this, one response file. There are few options. Install DB2 Express C on this computer. That is one of the options. Save installation in a response file. And the last one is install DB2 Express C on the computer and save my settings in a response file. It's not mandatory that we have to select this one. We can proceed with the install DB2 Express C on this computer also. But for the simplification reason, if you stuck with DB2 any point of time with the port numbers or all these things, so all the port numbers, the file name, the default settings are available in the response file. So it's a better way we can start with install Express-C on this computer and save my settings in the response file. But once again, it's not mandatory. So we can again proceed with, by selecting next, we can proceed further. Now the next one is the features or the settings that you want to select while the installation. So it is up to you, your requirement. You can select server support, client support, getting started. But the most important one is administration tools. That is, we have to select. It is must to create the database or the parts tables by selecting administration tools. It is the most basic one. It is must that we need to select this. And in the same window, we have the installation directory path of DB2. C program files, IBM, SQL, there is the installation directory. So nothing to change here. Just select administration tools and then next. Now in the next window, the language according to you. The language by default, we can use English as the default language to work with the DB2. Just select next again. Now DB2 copy. In the next window, we have the thing available with the DB2 copy name. So DB2, once we installed, by default name is DB2 copy 1. So again, from time to time, if we install 2, 3, 4 times, we have the copies available, DB2 copy 1, copy 2, copy 3. So this depends on the installation of DB2. We can install it once, DB2 copy 1. We can install it second time, DB2 copy 2. So that is the copy of the DB2 which is being created depends on the installation time of the DB2. So just we can select next again, nothing to change here. Now information center. Now if you want to have information about DB2, the updates or the packages which is included, so we can select on the IBM website. Second option is intranet server. That is not very much useful because we don't have the intranet server available everywhere. So we can directly select on the IBM website. So any type of updates are being done by IBM side, it will be available or visible to us. Then next only. Just select next. Now you can see, as I told you, with the custom option, we don't have the requirement to create a new user ID for the DB2. That is mandatory with the typical. So you can see local user or domain user account. With the custom also, if you want to create a new user for the DB2, then it is by default DB2 admin. It's not mandatory in the custom, but it's there in the typical. So we can select local system account because I don't want to create a new user for the DB2. So I uncheck the local user and select local system account. That means whatever the user I am logged in through which in my system, the same will be for the DB2. No need to create a new one. Just next again. Next is the DB2 instances. So once you install DB2, one instance is by default created with the name of DB2. That is, we can configurable. That is a configurable thing. We can configure it according to the path, according to the name, we can change it. Now you can see the next one is instance DB2, which we discussed, database, new tools SDB. Once we install the DB2 with the custom option, there one database is by default created with the name of tools SDB. The schema is sys-tools, that is the system tools. So that is existing new, it is just like, but the default setting, we don't have to change these things very much. And it does not create any problem while working with the DB2. So directly select, we can next here. Now after that, notifications. Now if you want to have notifications on your email ID regarding the DB2, regarding the things of the DB2, so you can check the option, otherwise uncheck the notification settings, because sometimes we don't need that thing, so we can proceed with by unchecking the notification things. So we can select here next directly. Now after, enable operating system security. Now security means if you don't want that your operating system can have all the access of your DB2 things, you want to limit the access of the operating system, then you can check enable operating system security for DB2 objects. And once this thing is checked, your operating system is only able to access the things which is available in the list. Some groups, some objects only, not the complete one. So that is basically for the security reasons. Then next. Now after this there is option available, finish. We done with all the things, we selected whatever we want to do with the DB2 installation time. Then after we will select directly finish. Now status, it's going on. Within approximately 5 or 10 minutes the DB2 installation is being done on the Windows. And once the installation is done, we have this page available where the option is available finish. That is, our DB2 is installed successfully and now we can finish up the installation of DB2. Then next. Now after the installation is done, the one page appears, that is DB2 first step, and in this there is an option of create profile or do not create profile. So it's not necessary to create any type of profile right now, so we can just select do not create profile and proceed with the next one. Now once the thing is installed, we have this option available, how to start the DB2. So one is like you can go to start all programs, then IBM DB2, then command editor, then control center. Second option is run option. From the run option you can type DB2 CC, that stands for DB2 control center, and you have the DB2 interface available. From there you can create database, tables, and execute the queries whatever you want to do. So that is the DB2 installation part on Windows. We are done with this thing. So I hope I am audible to all of you, and you are. After this, now the next one is DB2 installation is done. Now the next one is we have to start with the RAD 7.5 installation on the Windows. So the next thing is RAD installation. So I clicked on, we can proceed with this one, RAD installation. Now RAD installation. To install the RAD 7.5 on Windows, we have two folders available. One is for the installation manager. So installation manager is most basic thing required to install the RAD or any type of software that built on the Eclipse platform basically. So firstly we need to install IBM installation manager, and after that we are going to install the RAD 7.5. So firstly double click on this folder, or we can say open this folder of IBM installation manager. Okay, in the installation manager there is a zip file available, that is agent installer. That is a zip file. So to perform the installation part we need to extract it. So I should right click and select extract. Now once the agent installer is extracted, it's structured like this one. Some folders are available, some files are there. Out of these files there is one file available with the name of install. That is the executable file, install.exe. Now to install the installation manager we need to double click on this install.exe. Then now if it asks for run as administrator, so don't worry about this. Allow the things run as administrator and continue. Now IBM installation manager. Once the setup is started, the first window appears as IBM installation manager. So installation is initiated. This window is a sign of that thing. Now once the installation is initiated, the next window is install packages. Install packages, IBM installation manager, and the version which we are going to install of the installation manager is available in the list of install packages. So we don't have anything to change here, just directly select next. Now in the next window there is terms and condition page. So we need to select I accept the terms in the license agreement, then next. Now installation manager directory. By default one location is there in which installation manager is going to be installed, or we can say the files of installation manager is going to be saved. So that is again by default, we do not have to change this thing. Directly we can select next. Then we have the options available that we are installing IBM installation manager and the version, and finally select install. Now it will take approximately 1 or 2 minutes to install the installation manager. Now we need to wait for that thing until the installation manager is installed. Now once the installation manager is installed, we have this sign available, that indicates that our installation manager is installed successfully. Now once the installation manager is installed, after that we need to install our main tool, the RAD 7.5. Now to install RAD 7.5 on Windows, as I told you, there is one more folder available with the name of IBM RAD 7.5 setup. So just we need to open first this particular folder. Now in this folder there are different, or we can say number of zip files available. So to install the things, firstly we need to extract all the zip files, and it's better we can select the option of extract here. Different options are available, but better to select extract here. Right click on the zip file and then extract here. So until all the files are being extracted, we are not able to start the installation. So make it clear, we need to extract all the zipped file first, then we will start with the installation. So we will extract this, right click and extract here. Now extraction is going on one by one. We need to extract all the zip files with the option of extract here. Now once the extraction is done of all the zip files, there are 4 folders available. That is, one is the license file folder, one is RAD, one is RAD setup, and one is our server WAS 7.0. That is the 7.0 version of WebSphere. So these are the folders available once all the zip files are extracted. Now we need to start the installation of RAD 7.5 on Windows. Now to start the installation, firstly what we need to do, we need to open the installation manager which we installed previously. And to open the IBM installation manager, the path is simple. We go to Start, All Programs, then IBM installation manager. That is the way to open the installation manager. And once you clicked on IBM installation manager, this window appears. This is the IBM installation manager window. Now to install RAD 7.5, what we need to do is, in the installation manager window, main window, there is an option available on the left top corner, that is File. So once we clicked on File, there are few options available like Groups, View Logs, Open, Exit and Preferences. To install the RAD 7.5, we need to select the preferences option. So I select preferences. Now once you select preferences, there is an option available with the name of add repository. Now what we need to do, we need to add the repository of RAD 7.5 in the installation manager. So I select here add repository, and as soon as I select add repository, one repository box available, and here we need to browse the path of RAD setup folder where the repository is kept. So I select this. Now in the browse option, we need to browse the path of RAD setup folder which we extracted previously. So once we browse till RAD setup, inside RAD_setup there is a file available repository.config. So now we need to provide the path of this particular file repository.config on the browse option of add repositories. So I browsed till repository.config, which is available inside the RAD_setup, and then I select open. Now we provided the path of repository.config available inside the RAD_setup, then select OK. Once we added the repository, the next thing is on the installation manager there is an icon available to install of the things, and with the text available install. So we need to click on this icon of install. Now once we clicked on the install icon, the next window is install packages, and here we will see that the options are available, that IBM RAD 7.5, the license type by default it comes as the permanent, and the type of the server which we can install along with the RAD 7.5. So in the server list we have available server 6.0, 6.1, 7.0. So it's better to select server 7.0. No need to install all the servers. Our work will done with the version 7.0 of WebSphere. That is very much fine. So from this, better we select 7.5, which is mandatory because this is the tool which we are going to install, and from the server list we can select server 7.0. Now after selecting this, just is an option becomes visible, that is next. Once we click on next, the next is like this one. I selected 7.5 and 7.0 of WebSphere, 7.5 of RAD. Now the next is visible. I clicked on next. Okay, the next is terms and condition page. So here we have to select I accept the terms in the license agreement, and once you select this, the next is again visible to you so that you can proceed with the installation. So as I told you, we need to select I accept the terms in the license agreement, then select next. Once you select next from the terms and condition page, the next is shared resource directory, and it comes one by default path is available. So now this is shared resource. That means if you are going to install any other tool as, or we can say over the installation manager, so we can share the resources of RAD and the next tool which you want to install. So that is the shared resource directory. That means the resources which is kept in this directory in different number of tools that we are going to install over the installation manager. So that is created by default and the path is also available by default. Then nothing to change here, we can select directly next. Now in the next window, the installation directory of RAD. Now this is the private directory of RAD. It's not being shared with anyone, and the path of this directory is C program files IBM then STP. That is the private directory. So once we are going to install the RAD, all the resources are kept inside this directory. Then nothing to change here. If you want to change, you can change the name, but it's not feasible to do it right now. We can proceed with the default one and we can select next. Now we don't have to use an existing Eclipse IDE, so nothing to check here. Just directly select next. Now after that, the language selection. Language selection is by default English. We don't have to change here. Just we directly need to select the next. Okay, once you select next, the next thing is allow help from the web. Like if any type of help regarding RAD 7.5 from the websites or the options which is available in the list, you can select the appropriate one and you have the help available afterwards. So the basic one is allow help from the web. That is very much feasible and it's selected by default. Then we go with the next one. After that, create profile. One profile of the server is being created, so we have to check this option, create profile. Now there is one more option, enable administrative security of the profile. Now if you want that your to put a user ID and password on your profile, then you can check this option and put that. That means you are the only authorized user of your server profile. No other person can access your profile to run their projects, because your profile is now protected with the user ID and the password. Or if you want to make this thing global, anyone can use this profile to run the projects. Just uncheck the option of enable administrative security. It's up to you 100%, whatever you want to do, and after this select next. And finally we have the packages list available which we are going to install, and then click on the install button.
Mr. Chinmay, are you there?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello? Hello? Now time, so we need to wait for that
Hello,
particular
Mr. Chinmay,
time.
are you there?
Yeah. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing some technical difficulties. I request everyone to please stand by. Thank you.
the installation is done, we have this particular window available. Now we have this particular window available. Once the installation is done, we need to select here finish. That means the RAD installation is done on Windows. That 7.5 is now installed on our Windows system. So now we covered up the DB2 9.7 installation on Windows and RAD 7.5 installation on Windows. Now to open the tool, what we need to do, we need to start, all programs, then IBM software development platform or delivery platform, and select IBM Rational Application Developer. So once you select IBM Rational Application Developer, a prompt box appears which tells or asks you to create a new workspace. One default workspace is also there. If you want to proceed with the default one, you can go with that. Or you want to create a new one with the new path or with the new name, you can perform that thing also. So now we are done with the installation of RAD and installation of DB2 on Windows systems.
This route is currently busy.
Hello Purvi. So now this part is done. I hope I am audible to all of you, and I think the speed is somewhat okay. If you have any suggestions, just share with me. So now we're done with our first part, that is installation of RAD and installation of DB2 over the Windows. Now after that we move to our next part, that is the RAD and DB2 connectivity, the front end and the back end connectivity part. Now, RAD and DB2 connectivity. So in this particular, we have to cover up firstly DB2. In DB2, we are going to create a database and table. Secondly, RAD. In RAD, we are going to create a dynamic web project with the servlet and the JSPs. And third one is connectivity between RAD and DB2. Finally, we need to connect RAD and the DB2, the front end and the back end connectivity. So now we firstly start with the database creation in DB2. So now as we discussed, once we install the DB2, we cover up that part, how to open the tool. So one option is from the run, just type DB2CC, that is DB2 Control Center. So I clicked on run, then type there DB2CC. So we have this control center window available of IBM DB2. So now from here we have different options available to create database, to create tables, and the best part is we don't have to write query from this particular control center. We have to perform the things in a graphical manner. Just we have to select the things, and the things or the database, the tables are being created. So this is control center, and the option one available, you can see here all databases. So this all databases we can use to create a new database. So now to create a new database, what we need to do, just select all databases, then right click. From the context menu, we have the option available, create database. And to create database, there are three options: standard, automatic maintenance, and from backup. So basically we can start, or we can first time doing it, so we can perform or select the standard option. That is very much feasible. So that is the option to create a new database. Select all databases, right click, from the context menu create database, standard. If you have a backup or you want to create your new database from some backup, then you can select from backup also. So now once you select standard, the next window appears is create database. Now firstly what you need to put is, you need to put a database name. So I'm giving here the database name is TGMC. Default path, the location of that database becomes in the C drive. And you can see on the left side there are few options available. First one is name, to put a name to your database. As I put here TGMC. And then storage, region, summary. So if you want to see all of these, just select the things from there also, or we can click on the next, or if you directly want to finish up after things, after providing the name, you can directly select the option of finish here, that is available. That is available here, the finish option. So it is up to you, you want to cover up storage, region or summary one by one, or you directly want to finish up the things. It is completely up to you. Now suppose I selected finish. Now once I selected finish, a progress bar is available. That it has the information creating database, the database name TGMC and the time to create the database. So approximately it will take 2 to 3 minutes to create a new database. Okay, now once the database creation is completed, we have a message box available that create database TGMC is done, command completed successfully. And after that, in the same window, we have the option of close. So after seeing this particular instruction or the message command completed successfully, we can select close. Now you can see that TGMC database is now available in the list of all databases. So once we expand all databases, we have the TGMC available. And along with TGMC, one more database is available, that is Tools SDB. Because as I told you while discussing the installation of DB2, with the installation one default database is created and the name of that one is Tools SDB. So now Tools SDB is the default one, and we created one more, that is the TGMC. So now database creation is done. Now what we need to do, we need to create table inside this TGMC database. Now to create table inside the TGMC, firstly what we need to do, we need to expand this TGMC database. So I expanded this, and there are some objects available, that is tables, views, triggers, application instances. So these are some of the objects of the database which is created by default when we create any database in the DB2. So now we need to create a table. So what to do here, select the tables object and right click, and as soon as you right click, from the context menu you get the option, the first option that you get is create. So this is the create option to create a new table in the database. So I need to create a table now, so I selected this. I expanded TGMC, I right click tables object, and then I selected create. Now table creation. the schema name by default is web tag, and table name, I want to create a table with the name of login. So I put the table name as login. So it is up to you, whatever the table name you want to put, you can put from this particular option of table name. And schema name, in case of DB2, the by default it takes schema name as your system's login ID. That ID through which you can log in into your systems once you open that. So it is the one of the property of the DB2. So if you don't want or you want to change the schema, you can change directly here. So no need to write any type of query for that thing also. Directly you can change up the things. Or if you created any external schema or other schema apart from this. And table name is here, login as I provided. And in the left, you can also see the first is providing the names. Second one is columns. Now in table we need to create some columns also. So the second option is columns. So what to do? Either directly select columns from here or select next. It is up to you, whatever you want to prefer or you want to use. Okay, so now we are on the columns creation window. So to create columns, as you see, one thing is highlighted, that is add. To create the columns, this is the option we need to use, add columns. And as soon as you click on the add, the next window appears is like column creation, or we can say add column. So in this you have to fill some parameters like column name. So first thing is, what is your column name? It is up to you, your project requirement. I created first column with the name of UID or simply user ID. Data type, from the drop down list I selected varchar. Now it is up to you again, whatever you want to select according to your project requirement. Then length I provided 20 for the user ID varchar. And then I select apply. There is an option available with the apply, so we can apply this column. So first column is done. Now in the similar way, I created the second column. I provided this time column name as PWD, that is for password. Data type again, from the drop down list I selected varchar. Length again I defined as 20. And again it's nullable. That means the column is not null. Then OK. Now we have two columns available. First one is for the user ID, varchar, length is 20. Second one is for the password, data type varchar, and the length is 20. So that we created two columns with the option of columns available on the left side after the names. So now column creation is done. In a similar way, if you want to perform data partitioning, table spaces, keys, dimension, constraints, you can use or you can select directly from here, or you can perform by using the next option. Now there is one more option with the name of keys. With the keys we can define a primary key, unique key, foreign key, the keys that are available or required as per the project. So now currently I am on the keys list. So you can see here options available like add primary, add unique, and add foreign key. So it is up to you, whatever you want to create or you want to use. Currently I didn't create any type of key in this particular table because I don't require that. But simply what you need to do, if you want to add any type of primary key, select the option here, add primary. In the next window, the blocks are there. One block contain your columns, second one is the primary key. So whatever the column you want to make as primary key, just select and put it over the primary key block. So now that column becomes the primary key. So that is up to you, your requirement. You can use or you can create the keys. In the similar way, dimension, constraints, summary, you want to see summary. So you can directly click on the option summary. like this. If you select summary, it shows what are the table name, the number of columns, all lists are available, like create table name, login, number of columns, and show SQL. Now if you want to see the SQL statement of your table, you can directly select here show SQL. It gives the query structure that you performed, creating columns, creating tables and all. And if you don't want to see the SQL statement, just directly select here finish. The option available here with the name of finish. Now once you select finish, within a few seconds you got the message that your command completed successfully. Connect to TGMC, your table is connected to TGMC, the schema name, the table name along with the columns that you created with the data types and with the values. So now we perform the table creation part, we perform the database creation part without writing any type of query, and that is the best feature that we got from the control center of the DB2. Now once you created the table, you can see your table is now available in the list. Login, the table name, schema name, and the table space, that is by default user space 1. And once you clicked on the login, you can see columns list is available. That user ID, password is the column name, varchar is the data type for both, length is 20 for both, and both of them are not null. So this we created one table with the name login, and in the login we created two columns with UID and password names. The data type is varchar and the length is 20 for both of them. And if you want to see the structure of your table, that how your table looks like in DB2, what you need to do, just double click on this login. Double click on this login. And once you double click on this, you have the structure of your table available. Like this one. You have two columns, user ID, password, and options are also available to add or delete the row, but we don't have to perform this thing now. We are just discussing the structure of the table, that is with the two columns, user ID or password for PWD for the password. Then close this. So now we are done with the DB2 part. We created table, firstly we created a database, then we created a table. In the table we assigned two columns, user ID, password, the data type we took varchar, and the length is 20 for both of them. So this part from the DB2 is done. So now any suggestions from your side or any feedbacks from your side, because after this we are going to start with the RAD part, the project creation, the JSPs and the servlets. Okay, so now we done this part of DB2. Now we directly move to the RAD part. So RAD, as I told you, to open the RAD tool, once the tool is installed, you go to start, all programs, IBM, software, development or delivery platform, then IBM RAD. So once you click that and you created a workspace, this is the first window, or we can say the welcome window appears of the RAD tool. The main window or the first window of the RAD tool is welcome, and there are some icons available, samples, tutorials, galleries, web resources. From there you can seek help time to time. And from this welcome window we need to transfer to the workbench. Now workbench is that part of RAD where we actually perform the coding, or we can say it is the interface of the RAD tool, where we select whatever we want to do, we can code according to our requirements. Now to transfer to workbench, from this welcome window, two options are available. First one is this icon. this is the icon of workbench. So you can use this icon to transfer to workbench. Second option is you can close this welcome from here. So these are the two options that we have to transfer to workbench from this welcome window. Either we can select the icon or we can close the welcome window. Now out of these two, if you select any of these, now we transfer to the workbench. This is the workbench of DB2. Sorry, this is the workbench of RAD. From where we can create the projects, we can perform the coding according to our project's requirement. And you can see there is one perspective available, that is Java EE, that is edition. This is the by default perspective of RAD 7.5. Once we create a new workspace and we open the workbench, this perspective is available by default. If you want to change the perspective according to your need, your requirement, we can perform that thing also. But this is the default perspective of RAD 7.5 Java EE. And along with this perspective, or we can say along with every perspective, some default views are associated. Like with Java EE perspective, we have this view available, that is enterprise. We have services view available. We have outline view as default. We have profile, task, servers, data. These are all the default views of Java EE perspective. But we can customize these things also according to the requirement. So now Java EE is the by default perspective, and if we want to change the perspective, we have the options available. We go to Windows, then click on Windows, open perspective, and from the list available or from the other, we can select the perspective that we want to open. Suppose currently we need to open the web perspective. So we select here, open the web, or we can just select web perspective. In the same way, below open perspective, there is an option available with the name of show view. So if we want to change some, or we want to add some more views in the particular perspective, then we can perform by using the option of show view. So now, as I covered in the previous slide, I opened the web perspective. So now it gives us the icon that currently we are in the web perspective, like this one. It shows that currently we are in the web perspective because in previous slide we selected open perspective web. Now once we are in the web perspective, now we need to create the project, and according to our requirement we can create the project. Now before discussing it much further, I will explain you the scenario which I used to explain the RAD and DB2 connectivity. I created a dynamic web project. There is a dynamic web project available. In the dynamic web project there are 3 JSP pages and 2 servlets. Now 3 JSP pages, one is register user. So that means a new user can come and register themselves. Second one is validate user. That means if there is already registered or not, then we can perform this by the help of validate user page. And one more JSP is the home page. And from the home page we provided links to both register and validate user. So that means firstly we open the home page. If we are already a user, then we can go to validate user link. If we are going to register ourselves right now, then we can select the register user page, JSP page. And the servlets we created, in the servlets we put some code, that is if input is this, then output should be this thing and all that we discussed now after some time. So this is the whole scenario. This is the whole application, a small application, 3 JSPs and 2 servlets. One for the registration, one for the validation, and one is the home page, and servlet is the controller part. So to perform these things, I started with create a new project. So to create any type of project in the RAD, the option is similar. We go to File, which is available at the top left corner, then New, click on File, New, and then Project. So in the list, some projects are also available like static or dynamic web project. So if you want to use it directly from the list, you can select from here, or you want to go to the project list, you can select the project. So we selected the project here. Now from the list we selected dynamic web project, as this project I need to create now. Now the next is, after selecting the dynamic web project from the list, in the next we have to provide a project name. Suppose I provided the project name as TGMC. Target runtime is WebSphere Application Server 7.0, because this server we selected at the time of installation, so our pages will going to run on this particular server version 7.0. And at the bottom of this screen or bottom of this window, there is an option available with the name of EAR membership or EAR project name. So EAR project, or we can say the enterprise project, is very much required while working with the RAD tool or running the things on the WebSphere. So make sure that whatever your project name that you provided here, just like TGMC you provided, the EAR file name is TGMC EAR, the project name with EAR. So this is very much required while running the things over the server. So make sure the project name TGMC is here and EAR project name is TGMC EAR. Then we need to select next, or we can directly select here finish also. Okay, now, so once we select finish, we have two things available in the Enterprise Explorer view. The first one is your project that you created with the name of TGMC. Second one is the EAR project, TGMC EAR. Now in the TGMC project, there are certain parameters available, like TGMC, that is for the deployment descriptor. And deployment descriptor, it's basically a storage location for the resources. Some resources are required while running the project on the server. So all the those types of resources can be stored in the deployment descriptor. Now Java resources, one more parameter, Java resources. If you have any type of Java source code available in your web project, so it's automatically gets stored in the Java resources. And then web content is one more important. Web content, it stores all the publishing resources. Publishing resources in most simple terms is your web pages. The pages from where we give the input and we have the output. So these things are there inside the dynamic web project. These parameters are there. We can select the things accordingly. And TGMC EAR, as I told you in the previous slide, that we have to create a EAR project because it is very much required while running the things over the server. Now all the things, all the JSPs, all the servlets we need to create in this TGMC. And at the runtime, this project TGMC EAR will run on the server, and obviously it stores our TGMC, the dynamic web project. So that is all the hierarchy, all the working of this thing, that we need to create all the JSPs, servlets, whatever in the TGMC, that is dynamic web project, and at the runtime our EAR enterprise project will run on the server that stores the TGMC. Now, so firstly, we're gonna start with the JSP part. So we start with, first of all, we start with the JSP creation. So to create the JSP pages, what we need to do, as I told you, all things we need to create in TGMC, nothing in the TGMC EAR. So to create JSP, what we need to do, select TGMC, your project name, then right click. From the context menu, select the first option, that is new, and then go to others, because in the list no JSP is available. So we go to others. No JSP is available in the list, so directly we go to others. Now in the others wizard, we have to type here JSP. No need to find out where the JSP is being stored or located. We just, in the wizards option, if I type JSP, it's being located, the location. I type here JSP, the tool tells us that JSP is inside the web. So we need to select this JSP and then next. Now next, in the next window, we need to provide a file name. All the JSPs, we can say, comes under the category or tool assumes all the JSPs as file, all the JSP pages as the file. So here we need to put a file name, or we can say the page name for the JSP. So first of all, we put here register user, the page which we created previously, the register user, the first JSP page. That is for the registration of the new user. And as I told you, that all the JSPs, or we can say web pages, are being stored or comes under the category of web content. So the by default location of all the JSPs are under the web content. It automatically gets located inside the web content parameter. So here I provided the name register user as my JSP page name. Now once you create a JSP page, the editor opens. Now in this editor, there are 4 tabs available. First one is design, second one is source, third one is split, fourth one is preview. Now design tab, with the help of design tab, we can perform the designing of the JSP page according to our requirement, and the source code will automatically be generated and available in the source tab, just like this one. Or there is source tab. If you want to perform source, or if you want to perform coding, then you can open the source tab, perform the coding. So whatever you coded, it's automatically get available in the design tab. So it's like vice versa. If we perform the design, source code automatically generated. If we perform the coding first, the design gets automatically generated, available in the different tabs. One more tab is there, that is split. In split tab, the editor is divided into 2 partitions. In the upper partition, designing should be there, and the lower partition, coding should be there. That means designs and source is combined into one single, that is split. And next one is preview. Preview means how your page looks like while running the things on the server. So that is the preview one. So there is some code available, that alignment, one table is there with some width, with some border, username, and I provided text fields. Text field for the username is txt user ID, and text field for the password is txt password. And I created 2 buttons, one submit button. The value of that submit button is insert user credential, because from the register page we are registering a new user. And second one is reset page, to change the user ID or the password. So this is the code that we have available in the register user.jsp. The main thing that we have to keep in mind is the name of the text field of user ID and text field of the password. The name is txt user ID for the username, txt password for the password, because this is required while creating the servlet, that from which text field you want to transfer the control. So that is very much required. So this is the first page that we created, register user.jsp. So now we perform the coding from the source tab, so the design is available to us with the username, password, text field for user ID, text field for the password, one button, insert user credential, and one reset. And if you don't want to perform the coding, you directly want to perform the design. So to perform the design, there is a view available with the name of palette, and you can open this view by Windows Show View. There is a view available with the name of palette. If it does not available by default, you can open it with Windows Show View. It contains all the tags which is used for designing: HTML, form, JSP, space templates, website navigation. So it is up to you. You want to design or you want to code. It is completely up to your requirement. To perform these things, the tabs are available. Now this is our page, the first one, register user.jsp, to register a new user. Now in the same way, I am going to create a second page, that is, the way is similar. Click on TGMC again, new, and this time, okay, there are two ways to create a JSP. Firstly, we cover up the others option, project, new, others. One more option is there. We can go to TGMC, new, web page. There is an option available from the list, that is web page. So this is also, with this option we can create a JSP page. This is the second option to create a JSP page. Now you can see JSP page available, the web page. I provide the second page name is validate the user, because this is for validating whether the user is registered or not. So I provide validate user and then select JSP, because this is a JSP page. Then I select finish. Now you can see again, this is the code of validate user.jsp. So it is up to you again that if you want to perform the design, you can open the design tab and from the palette view select whatever you want to do, or if you want to put the source or you want to perform the coding, you can put it in the source tab. And you can see again the important part, the text field for user ID, again I take as txt text field for the password, again I take as txt password, and this time the button is validate user, and rest of the things are similar. So now currently we are in the design. So whatever we coded, the design is available. So this text field name is txt user ID, this text field name is txt password. Now we move to the third and final JSP page creation, home.jsp. That is our main page. So in this page, I'm going to provide two links. That is one for the register user and one for the validate user. So if we are registering for the first time, we have to select register user.jsp, or if we are validating ourselves, we have to select validate user.jsp. So firstly, I put the text first time registration. Currently the text is in normal font. So if you want to make it as heading 1, HTML headings, or you want to put the color to the text, you can do it from the properties view. There is a view available with the properties. So you can perform that thing from the properties view. Now after that, if you want to insert any type of link, what to do? Right click anywhere in the JSP page. If you right click, from the context menu, the option is insert link. So insert link, once you select that, next is this particular window appears. The type is file. As I told you, In case of RAD, all the JSP page comes under the category of file type. So it is available like file. Now here we have to browse the URL. URL, that means to which page we need to transfer with this link. So URL, browse. From browse there are option available file, anchor, servlet or alias. So currently we need to select file type because we are going to transfer to the one of the JSP page. So I select file and we have the options available whatever the JSP page is available. Register user, validate user or home. So first link is for the registration. So I select here register user.jsp, then OK. Now you can see the URL register user.jsp and link text by default also comes register user.jsp, but that you can change according to your requirement. As I change this to register yourself, then select OK. In the same way, I created the second link for the validation page, validate user, that is the link text is validate yourself. So now we have three JSP pages. One for the registration of new user, second one for the validation, third one is the home.jsp. Sorry. Now the JSP pages are created. Now we move to the servlet creation. So to create the servlets, again we have to use the similar option. Select the project TGMC, then right click, new, and servlet we have option available in the list. So I select here servlet. Next is servlet name. So you can see in the create servlet, first one is the project name, that is the web project is our TGMC, source folder SRC. That means our servlet will located in the SRC or Java resource folder, because as you all know servlet is a Java code, and I told you all the Java code is stored in the Java resources inside the TGMC or dynamic web project. And I created one package with the name of P1. The servlet name I provided registration, and there is one super class available with the name of HTTP servlet. HTTP servlet, why? Because HTTP servlets are servlets that responds to HTTP protocol. That means from the web pages, if we want to access anything, then we have to use the HTTP servlet as the super class, and it's there by default. Then we select next. Now registration name of the servlet, and one more thing available is there URL mappings. Now URL mappings is like when you run the pages on your browser, the servlet name will also pass in the URL, and if you don't want that your servlet will pass with the same name, you want that your servlet will pass with some other name on the URL, so you can change from the URL mappings. So what to do? Select the servlet name, go to edit and change the name. So the new name will be passed in the URL, not the actual name. That is basically for the security of the servlet. Then again click next. Now do get, do post methods are by default checked, because if we have a request from get method, it will be handled by do get. If we have a request from do post, it will be handled by if we have a request from post method, it will be handled by do post. If we have a request from get method, it will be handled by the do get. So these options are by default checked, nothing to uncheck here. Then select finish. Now initial code of the servlet is available with the name, with the package, with the imports. It imported some packages automatically, the name, the do get and the do post. Now what we have to do is, I am going to put a method process request in both do get and do post. So what is the working of process request is, it overrides both do get and do post. We don't have to worry about this thing that from which method we have the request, that is from the get or from the post. If it is from the get, handled by the process request, or it is from the post, handled by the process request. So what we are going to do is, I put process request in both do get and do post, and working is similar. Request and response are the two parameters that I that we passed in the process request. And you can see once you put this thing, option available along with a error mark and one light bulb icon. That means if this light bulb icon is known as quick fix in RAD, that means if you have any error or warning regarding the code inside RAD and RAD have the possible solution of that problem, then we can use the quick fix icon. And currently the problem is we cannot execute process request in this way by just writing process request with the parameters request and response. It requires a main method for the execution. Just like to execute any of the Java class, we required a main method. Similarly, to execute the process request, we need a main method of the process request. So now to put this thing, just click on this quick fix that is available here. It gives the possible solution. So as I clicked on the quick fix, it gives the possible solution that create a main method for the process request. Just like this one, create a main method for the process request. Now we have a main method for the process request available, and in this main method you need to put whatever your project required. That means from what input you want to transfer to which page. So, and in this main method of process request, we define the connectivity of JSPs with the DB2. So to connect JSPs with the DB2, we need to follow a hierarchy. First one is class.forename, the JDBC driver. So there are 4 key interfaces that we need to use for the JDBCs. First interface is driver, second is connection, third is statement, and the fourth one is result set. All these comes in the hierarchy. First one should always be the driver. And driver, how to access the driver? The syntax is class.forename. In the for name, we need to put the JDBC where the driver is being kept in our system. So here it is common for all the DB2 connectivity. Class.forename com.ibm.db2.jcc.db2 driver. This thing is common. After that, the connection string. Connection con.getConnection. So this is the connection URL that we want to put. First one, JDBC, Java database connectivity according to our DB2, then the database name DB2, then localhost. Localhost, that means your database is in your system only, so we need to select localhost. If the database is in some other system, then we need to put the IP address of that system. After that, port number. By default, the port number for DB2 Windows is 50,000 that we put. After that, database name. So I created a database with the name TGMC, so it's located here, that I put the database name as TGMC. So this is the connection URL. First we need to set the driver, then connection. These things are common, up to 50,000 port number. Now after that, database is up to you, whatever database you created, and after that, user ID of your system and password of your system that you need to put, as I put my system user ID and my system's password. Now request.get parameter. I created string variables. A string first for the username, then for the password. And as I told you, while creating the JSPs, the txt user ID is the text field name for the user ID, and txt password is the text field name for the password. So I did the value of txt user ID and txt password into the string username and string password. So the working is like this one. Whenever I put something in the user ID and put something in the password, the method is I used get parameter. It takes the value from user ID and from password and copied the value into the string username and string password. So that is the working of this one. So make sure whatever the name you provided on the JSP, the thing should be common here. Then prepare statement, the third thing, to execute the statements. So this is registration, so I put insert into web text the schema name, the table name. We have 2 columns, user ID, password, values, and now we have the values in the username and in the password strings. So we provided here username, password. Now execute update. Execute update is like this. it is for the running the SQL or DDL statements as execute update. Now, if I, or we can say I put one sorry, I put one integer variable, that is integer I, in which I store the execute update. So now if I is not equal to 0, that means some person provided user ID and password, then registration successful, else error in the registration. So I put here response.getWriter. Now getWriter simply provides this message, registration successful, in the next web page. So no need to create another JSP pages. If you want to show the result in some other JSP page, the options available here, response.sendDirect, which I make disabled. So this is the thing for the registration page, registration servlet. And these are the packages which we imported, which is required while creating a servlet with the JDBC connectivity. Now this is the second servlet which we created, that is validate user info. Rest of the things are similar. Now in this you can see the first thing for the process request I provided in both do get and do post. The first thing, the driver interface is similar, that is the by default location of DB2 driver. The connection is similar. I provided TXT user ID and TXT password for that page also. So this thing is also similar. Now this time I am going to select other thing because this is validation. So if there is some user already entered user ID and password, we need to validate. So here this time I select query. Select UID from schema table name where user ID is username, because now we have the value of user ID in the user. We have the value of TXT user ID in the username, and we have the value of password in the password. So I provided username and password. Now these values are get converted or stored in the or selected from the user ID. Now execute query. One more thing which is very much important is if you have the select statement, you always have to select result set execute query, or if you have insert create, you need to select execute update, which we performed in the previous one. Now after that the things are similar. And one more thing, the result set takes the value from the rows, and initially the first value of the row is null. So that's why we need to put one method, that is rs.next, because if the first row is null in each case of result set, then from the next row we can fetch the results. And in the same way, getWriter registered user, if there is no such thing available, then invalid user ID or password. Then finally these are the packages imported. Finally we need to connect our servlet with the JSP page. Now to connect the servlet with the JSP page, what we need to do is open a form tag, open and close a form tag in the source tab of the JSP. So I opened one form tag and closed one form tag. Then next, now click anywhere inside the form tag. Once you clicked anywhere inside the form tag, go to properties. In the properties there is a tab available with the name of form and action. Now here you need to define the action, that means servlet name to which you want to connect your JSP. Now I select registration because I am currently connecting to registration page. I select registration as the servlet. Now you can see in the action TGMC registration we have. In the code also we have form action TGMC registration. So you can perform this thing by manually writing it also. Form action / TGMC project name / servlet name, or the second option that we discussed from the properties view. Just like in the validate user, I created or I connected validate user info servlet. So finally we need to run the pages on the server. First one, home.jsp, select run as run on server. Now select the server in which you want to run. I select WebSphere 7.0. Now before running it, the one window appears in which there are two blocks, available projects and configured. Available projects are those which are currently removed from the server, and configured projects are those which are currently added on the server. And as I told you, we need to create all the things in the TGMC project, that is the dynamic web project, and at the runtime your EAR project will run. So you can see here in the hierarchy also, firstly we have TGMC EAR, then we have the TGMC project, then we can select finish. So now that is our home page. First we have two pages links, register yourself or validate. So firstly I need to register myself. So I select register yourself. I transfer to the register user. Username suppose I provided TGMC, password I provided TGMC, and I clicked on insert user credential. And in the code I selected get writer. So in the next web page we have the message registration is successful. And as soon as you put user ID and password, it got inserted into the login table in the DB2. You can see user ID TGMC, password is TGMC. Now second one is validate user. If you want to check the things that the user is already authenticated or not, so we can again go to home page. Now this time clicked on the validate user link. So I provide TGMC and I want to check whether I was authenticated or not. So we have the message that you are a registered user, and if I provide suppose some other user ID or password, if I provide some other user ID or password, that is username, project, password something, and I want to validate, I want to check myself, then this time we have the output in the next page, invalid user ID or password, because that user ID or password is not being inserted into the login table. So now this is a way to connect our RAD and DB2. The loading drivers, the driver manager, the connection string is similar. User ID and password text field you need to put whatever the name you provided, and then statement execute you have to, and finally result set. So for the select query, the result set is execute query, and for the SQL and DDL or update statements, the thing is execute update. So now thank you.